Guys, check out the killer record cases and stereo furniture at sidetrackedworkshop.com. Get your vinyl out of the crate and display your records in style. Save 15% with discount code TVG at checkout. That's sidetrackedworkshop.com.
And now, on with the show.
Oh, well, hey everyone, it's Nate. Welcome back to the Vinyl Guide podcast. This is part 2 of our two-parter with Henry Rollins, musician, actor, author, record collector, and music fanatic. Henry joined us way back when, episode 100 of the Vinyl Guide podcast, which you can hear anytime. We keep all the back episodes available, no paywall or anything, so all you got to do is follow the Vinyl Guide podcast and you can enjoy all those episodes anytime. As mentioned, this is the second part of our two-parter. Part 1 of this conversation, we spoke about Henry's Stay Fanatic book series, his approach to bootleg records, his rhythms with Discogs and eBay, and today we cover all sorts of new topics, including preserving Black Flag and other punk flyers, rare one-offs in Henry's record collection, his approach to writing notes in his records for future listeners, including himself, and more. So this should be a very fun and informative episode for all you record nerds out there, and we do this to help celebrate Henry's new addition to his Stay Fanatic book series. Stay Fanatic Volume 4 is out now and available to order at henryrollins.com. And with that, let's get into part 2 of the Vinyl Guide interview with record collecting and music fanatic Sir Henry Rollins. So, you collect records.
Yeah.
Paper, flyers,
I'm
set
a
lists.
paper fanatic, yeah.
Right. Acetates, test pressings. What's the oddest thing in your collection? Perhaps a personal item. Do you collect personal items for like someone like Ian Curtis, something that belonged to him? Is that part of, does that interest you?
Yes, to a certain extent. I think it's all interesting. And anything that finds itself in the physical world where there's actual proof. Like, Iggy's famous silver leather pants that graced the cover of Raw Power went on auction years ago. A quick pickup at $70,000. And I wrote Iggy's manager. I go, was that you guys? He went, no. Like, then who was he? He goes, I don't know. I was like, your guy is the boss of bosses. They don't tell him. He's like, no, stop writing me. And so who got the pants? I don't know. Would I like to have them? I don't know. So the
not for $70,000.
So clothes I'm not that geeked on, but I do have a few articles of clothing just because the offer came my way. Like punk rock, a band called The Adverts, one of the first and one of the best. And they were popular because they had great songs. Also, they had a female bass player, Gay Advert, who's a pal of mine and, fantastically normal. Like you can talk to her and she makes sense and she's wonderful. She wrote me years ago and said, hey, you want to buy my t-shirts that I used to wear on stage? I went, yeah, just tell me the amount and we'll send it right to your bank. Done. And I have her t-shirts. Nick Garrett of UK Subs, one of my favorite guitar players of all time. I was at his house years ago. Like, hey, look at all those t-shirts of yours. You want to sell them? Well, let's make a deal. So I have some of their clothing. Do I put them on? No. Because I have pressed them flatly and they're living in a dark, dry, acid-free environment. So that might be the oddest thing I have. James Williamson, the guitar player in some band called the Stooges, I just purchased his first ever amp that he got from Sears and Roebuck because I think his stepfather or uncle was an employee there and could get an employee discount. So I bought it with the original cabinet. And so I have his amp and the original cabinet that it came in. He had it recabineted, but I have the original and the new cabinet. That's kind of an odd thing, but it came up. He's one of my favorite guitar players. It's the guitar amp he used in his early bands and through high school, and it should be with me.
Right.
Lest it fall into the hands of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or anywheres like that. And so those are odd things, but for the most part, I don't collect guitar picks. guitar strings, pick guards, or any of that. I'm really more on the paper and vinyl side of things.
It, in recent years, there's just been this tremendous surge for records, especially punk rock. I mean, the Misfits singles going for $5,000 and $7,000 and $10,000. Some of them.
Yes.
What's your response when you see things going up into that level of investment?
I accept it. In that, how much is the record worth? What the guy on eBay or Omega Auctions paid for it. That's what it's worth. What is it really worth? What the guy paid for it. I paid $2.99 for my Misfits records until I started getting them for free when Jerry and Glenn would give them to me. And so Cough Cool, the first one, I bought that at Bleecker Bob's in like 1979 for $1.99. My second copy was given to me by Glenn. Would I ever sell them? No. Because one commemorates a trip where I drove my wounded VW fastback from D.C. to New York. And the other is a gift from Glenn Danzig. And I take all that very seriously. Provenance is a thing with me. And there's no price you would offer me where I go, well, okay. I don't care about money like that. And so those prices, I'm sad for the young person who's trying to build a really cool record collection now. Thankful for all the really good sounding reissues that are happening with everything from the Misfits to the Sun Ra catalog. Another guy who will put you in the poorhouse trying to get one record. But thankfully, Erwin Shusett is doing these great liner notes, and these reissues are coming out, and they're just fantastic. And I know because I buy them, because I am about 40 years too late to the Sun Ra thing. Interested, but I wasn't there when it counted. Ask Thurston Moore for guidance on that. Anyway, I just feel bad for those people because I'm an old guy, and those weren't rare records when I was buying them. They were just the records we were buying. And, I'm a best friends with some guy named Ian Mackay, so I'm familiar with the Dischord catalog. Another set of records that'll set you back. I was there when they were coming out. I got all mine for free. Test pressings, original artwork, like the unfolded picture sleeves. I have all that stuff because I know the guy in the band. I was in some band called Black Flag. Are you kidding? I kept like one or two of everything. We'd make a new flyer. It's got Raymond Pettibone artwork. I'd pinch 5, put them in an envelope, seal it, and date it. And I didn't open them until I put them into acid-free environments when I knew what an acid-free environment was 100 years later. And they still look like the day I put them in the envelope. At this point now, with the internet and the preciousness of all of it, it's too bad that a Misfits fan who lives in the real world can't afford a copy of, Teenagers from Mars because it's like $5,800.
That's really interesting that from even at the time, you had the understanding that this paper should be preserved.
Well, I can give you a very short story as to why. Here it is, really quick. Ian Mackay and I were walking down M Street in Georgetown in Washington, D.C. with Scotch tape, putting up flyers for his band, the Teen Idols, IDLES, Dischord 1. And we get all the way to Key Bridge, having bravely put these flyers up on light poles with like 800 yards of 1-inch tape, to turn around and see all of them have been torn down, crumbled up, and thrown on the ground. Someone is basically trying to say the Teen Idols don't exist. I already thought the flyers were cool anyway. I went, that's it. I'm angry. I'm going to keep a copy of everything. And I just kept copies of every flyer. I'd go to a show. If I can get the flyer, I'd go home with a flyer. Ian makes a flyer for his band. I grab 2 copies because it's cool. It's my friend's band. And someone doesn't want this music to exist. And then I figured out RCA out, RCA in, 2 tape decks. You can copy cassettes. And my first cassette was when Ian Mackay snuck into the Cramps show, February 1979, when they played the Hall of Nations on the Georgetown University campus. And I made my first tape dupe. And when Ivy was over at my house years ago, I said, I need you to hold this cassette in your hands because it's the first tape I ever copied. And it's you, and it needs to come full circle. And she's like, okay, you weirdo. And she entertained my fanatic urge. She's a patient woman. And so I just grabbed one of everything, and everything I didn't get, I'm mad about. And then I became the fan who got to be in his favorite band, Black Flag. And so I was like, oh, well. And we come back from Europe. I'm the guy with the poster tube with a poster from all the shows. My bandmates had no interest. In fact, they had the anti-interest. Like, why are you keeping all that crap for? I go, like, it's us. It's history. And it looks cool. And someone out there hates us, and I'm going to keep it for all time. And all those posters are now archivally framed.
Right. Okay. The purpose was to prove it existed almost.
Yeah, documentation.
The future self. Yeah.
Yeah. I was an archivist before I even knew the word. And, in Black Flag, all of us made like negative money. Like there's like no money. Mm-hmm. So I'd save a few dollars here and there. I'd go to the office supply store and I'd buy page protectors. And that was a chunk what I could be eating with that money. So you skip the meal, but you go for history. And, over the years, I've accumulated a lot of archival boxes of paper. I just bought a collection recently, and I've been going through the flyers, and I'm scanning every single day, and I'm many scans into this collection with a whole lot to go. And so I've always been a paper guy, because again, it's that physical thing in the world, and the fact that paper's so delicate. Like, you look at it wrong, you store it incorrectly, the bugs get to it, the mice get to it, the sun gets to it, and you can lose the story.
With records, a lot of times there's 300 or 500, and that's rare. But with flyers, sometimes there's only 30 or 50.
There's a few pieces of paper I have of like posters and flyers that were made. Mm-hmm. My copies are the only known ones in existence. Just because it was a poster that got shellacked on a few billboards in some small London town, and they got covered over the next day after the show was over. But the one guy who sold it to me on eBay knew the printer, and so he went to the printer and grabbed a couple of them, and he sold me his extra one. Or he had one, and he needs the money because he has a baby or a divorce coming. So he sold me the one, and you look around, and there's so I have at least 3 things like that. I know there's only one for sure, but that was at one point mass produced, even if that group was like 10 or 25.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I'm reading it here is that scarcity, the scarcity of the paper, the acetates, the things that there's only one, maybe 2 of, those seem to be the areas that really kind of light your fire. Is that fair?
Yes, because of the scarcity, and I might be a bit presumptuous, I'm the right guy for the job. I'll never sell it. I'll take really good care of it. If a museum needs it on loan, I'll consider it. But I'm not going to flip it. I'm not going to trade it. And it's going to be cared for jealously, very carefully until, I keel over. And I turned 23 this year, so I got to, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, for instance, some band called the Stooges, they did an album called Raw Power. You may have heard of it. Lenny Kaye, Patti Smith's guitar player, good guy. He did a kind of legendary review of that record for Rolling Stone. So, he's a great writer, great rock and roll writer. What was his source to review Raw Power? It was 2 single-sided acetate plates cut for him by Columbia. I bought those from him a few years ago. And I have more than one acetate for that record. But there's only one set of 2 single-sideds that was cut for Lenny Kaye. And I have them. And I'm the right guy to have them because they'll never get sold. They've been scanned. They've been put away very carefully. They live in a climate-controlled environment. And if that's a bit too much, well, bite me. It's history. Oh, you should just play it, man. Like, well, you can degrade an acetate. I have played it because I took notes. Played it once, put it away, and I'm the guy for the job, if I dare say. And so at this point, I'm rescuing records and flyers, lest sometimes someone will buy a collection from someone, like 40 years of someone's passion, and they buy the collection. Within days, parts of it have been sold, traded, flipped, and the collection, you'll never put the toothpaste back in the tube. Within a month, it is on 4 continents, never to come back together. I buy a collection, nothing leaves. Where you come back in 50 years, every damn piece of paper is still intact with the metadata, because we're trying to preserve history, not make a buck. So I'm spending money, and how do I get the money back? I don't. I reproduce the flyers or the whatever it is, and I put them in the Stay Fanatic books, which sell like, 40 copies. It's not like a page-turning thing. Like, it's for music fanatics, maybe some of your audience that informs their description. And so I'm paying money to do the right thing. And when, every once in a while, this stuff is not cheap. And I'm not, a human ATM machine. My money comes to me, like dipped in blood, mine. And, but, Ian MacKay will give me a pep talk. He's like, you're doing the right thing. Like, you're doing the right thing. He doesn't go after this stuff as I do. He collects Washington, D.C. stuff to, maintain his area code. I'm, on the auction sites looking to bring it all in. And he goes, you're doing the right thing. Like, forget the money, man. Just like do the right thing. And once you get the thing and you look at it, you're like, wow, this is so cool. And now I can tell this story, because I now have the contract for this record. And here's the acetate, and boom, 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 boom. And like suddenly we understand. I have receipts for practices of bands, so I can prove to you where they were before they left on tour. Who cares? Me and 3 other guys who are probably my age who still live with their parents. Will they get my book? No. But they know where I'm coming from. And so this is just the hill I've chosen to die on.
Well, it reminds me a little bit. Do you know John Tefteller?
No.
John, he collects blues records, 78s.
Oh, wow.
And he does it sounds like a very similar rhythm to you. He'll spend $10,000 on a single old Charlie Patton record.
Well, no doubt you've read the book or heard of it by Amanda Petrusich.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that a do not sell at any price? That is a miracle of a book.
Yeah.
Talk about hitting them where they ain't. I'm such a fan of hers. She's such a great writer, but what an amazing topic. Your audience might dig that book if they've not read it. It's about 78 collectors, and they're all kind of like R. Crumb.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your favorite 78? Who wants to know? Like, they're all really weird. Can I see your favorite 78? No, get out of my attic. They're all strange. But she gets these like cranks to kind of open up. And like she goes on buying missions and she listens to the music, and she's also taken by music that is cut right to disc, like the purity of it. Like if you've ever listened to like Rockabilly 7 inches, like it's not like the downloads you get from Rare Records R Us. When you hear the actual 7-inch, it's like everything is like live, like sashimi, fresh. Yeah. And it'll knock you out. You see why people go after those records with a vengeance. It's so pure. And so I can dig someone laying down $10,000 for a record. Like if it's a record you want, you start to logic the money. Well, I just won't eat for 33 days. I can do it. Like I'll chase squirrels and I'll eat their tails. Like you find a way. And her book really, I just thought it was one of the funnest music reads I've ever
That's where
done.
She went scuba diving, trying to find metal parts of the old Paramount records.
In whatever river it was. Yeah, who does that? A fanatic. And like such a great read and a great topic and so well done.
Well,
I'm such a fan.
I'll send you some of my interviews with John Tefteller, because he'll like I said, he'll spend $10,000 plus on a single record, if it's the only one. He'll then clean it up, digitize it as best he can to preserve it. And then he would sell it with his, like a recording of it, like a CD with a yearly calendar that had all these dates of famous blues musicians. I mean, the calendar was like $30 and God knows, I mean, how many he sold, but it was really just to get the music out there.
Oh, wow. There's a couple of Robert Johnson sides, at least one, like the alternate take of Traveling Riverside Blues. I think Lomax found it. And I think it was cut to disc. Without him finding it and like giving it to us, we'd never hear that like 2.5 minutes of Robert Johnson. And like truly, you're very well served by hearing everything you're able to hear by Robert Johnson. It's all good, as the kids say. And it's people like, both Lomaxes, Alan and John, Father John, who are such a gift to the world. They took their microphones and decks out and they went into steaming jungles and desert plains to bring it back. And all those people getting the 78s and recording them and putting them out, even online for free, the fact that you can hear it. Who's that great guy who made the Smithsonian box set? The eccentric fellow from New York with the great beard. George Mitchell?
No, I wouldn't know.
He was like the blues country 45 lacquer guy, and he made this great collection. And you can look him up. His collection, I've been through it. His vinyl collection now lives at the Dillon Museum in Oklahoma. But he's the reason you get to hear all this stuff, because it's the music he liked. And he went, well, here's what you need to listen to. And he kind of made this thing for you to walk into. And all those doo-wop labels that were operated out of the back of record stores, like, true independent labels that were putting out records for young black youth in white towns, where it's the guy at the record store who's breaking barriers. Because, the vocal group came in and sang a cappella at his store and went, well, let's put it on wax. I know the local DJ, Wolfman Jack, will play it. Yeah. And it's this great story, and it's all in the vinyl. And when you get into music, as Page Hamilton of Helmet, who's such a smart guy, you should talk to him about music sometime. He's just a sharp dude, and I'm a fan. But we spent a summer many years ago touring, and we would sit and have lunch every day. Sometimes me and him, sometimes me, him, and Les Claypool. And so you're sitting at the table with these two wizards. They're just smart guys. And he said, what's the angriest music in America? I'll go, punk rock. He went, no, wrong. It's bebop. I go, oh, come on. He goes, no, think about it. It's like, angry, talented, obviously talented black men getting told you can't walk over that white line in the club. You have to warm up in the men's room because we don't have a backstage area for people of your color. Like they knew they were great, and they knew they're going to play in clubs and get called names, and they can't stay in town because they don't have a hotel for people like you. He goes, it's the beginning of the civil rights movement on vinyl. And I've never listened to jazz the same way again. Where you listen to some of these cats and you're like, yeah, it's beautiful, but man, are they mad. like Miles Davis, he's just like this good-looking guy. He's like a swan, graceful and pugnacious, because he's been told, after selling out a beautiful theater, hey, boy, you can't stay in this town. You better go to the suburbs where your people are. And Page is right, of course. And it's like kind of the first American punk rock. And there's probably stories that the people writing the liner notes could tell you, that the guys who ran Blue Note could tell you, that these jazz guys and gals, if they were alive, could tell you. There's so much humanity in music. The human drama of it keeps me completely glued to it. As one person said on the internet, I wish I knew who it was, like, you want to know me? Look at my record collection. Like, there's someone's id. Mm-hmm. And I'm just fascinated. The older I get, the more dots I am able to connect, because I get more materials. I have more time to sit on my old ass and think it over And by writing this stuff out, I process ideas. I go like, well, that went nowhere. There goes Saturday night. Crumble it up and throw it away because the idea is a dud. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you come back a year later and go like, now I have this contract and all this makes sense now. Have I got a story for you? And so all of these pursuits, I put it this way. If I could stop writing these Stay Fanatic books, I would. If I could stop writing, I would. And I literally write minimum 1,000 words a day. Every day. I do not take days off. I do not take days off. On a plane, in a yurt, on a train going through Siberia, I wrote on that Trans-Siberian Express. In fact, I edited 2 books and I wrote. I edited my next book, I forget what it was, Johnny Ramone's autobiography, and I did writing and photography out the window. And so as I get older, all of this stuff becomes more interesting, and you find out more information. You get more source materials, and more is revealed. And that's the lightning I try to capture in these bottles. That is the Stay Fanatic series. That fun, that can't wait for Friday because I don't have to go to school the next day. And I haven't been to school since 1979, but I still think that way. I went to a school that was a gulag for me, a prep school out in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. And I'd get back on Friday and I'd put on Zeppelin 4. It was like I'm free for 48 hours, and that was my celebratory soundtrack. Now it's Machine Gun Etiquette by The Damned, and I play it every Friday. Every once in a while, I'm performing on a Friday, and the travel was such that I have to play it like on Saturday night, but I make note because Friday, Fanatic, I always say Fanatic, it's Friday, finally. MGE, Machine Gun Etiquette, is on its second song, but sometimes there's a festival date, and I will not be able to do it. We'll pick it up tomorrow night, and I'll play it on Saturday night. But out of a 52 Friday year, I'll get it right about 51 times.
What is the best affordable vinyl copy of Machine Gun Etiquette?
Ooh, good question. I would go for the Drastic Plastic Pressing, which is a great company out of, I believe, Nebraska. And they reissue The Damned, The Cramps, and on and on and on. And they do fantastic reissues. Really smart stuff. Not only really cool issues, they do a great job sonically. And they'll do like the 180 gram reissue, the 150 gram, and I of course, have to have them all. Sadly, they sound so good. And it's the first 4 Damned albums, and they all sound fantastic. And Machine Gun Etiquette being the 3rd album is included in that. But they all got bought up. And sadly now, Drastic Plastic, I don't know what their deal is with the Damned catalog, but they should do the run again because now those are becoming expensive. But as far as like being able to buy a new copy of that record, I would go with the Drastic Plastic because I bought them to see if they were any good, and I'm happy to say they're stellar. There are some other ones that have been done for record store days in the past. I have not bought them, and I won't say who did them. You can find them online. I can't verify their quality. Damn. I do read reviews, and some of them are pretty unkind, which I would be willing to believe are pretty accurate because some pretty sharp people do those reviews. Right. In that they know what to listen for.
Okay. All right. I've got a Drastic Plastic of Machine Gun Etiquette and an original. What I don't have is a really good copy of Strawberries. And there was recently an RSD issue of Strawberries, but they had an incorrect live track for Bedtime for Bonzo. Like they screwed up the sequencing, I think.
Yeah, I have my original. And I just wrote a thing about Strawberries 48 hours ago because I listen to it once a year in the month of August. And I always go back to the same story when I saw The Damned on the Strawberries tour, June 16, 1983, when I was in Washington, D.C., when sadly The Damned had the bad luck of having Minor Threat open for them. And Minor Threat, hometown crowd, and Washington, D.C. is Damned and Cramps country. We love those bands fiercely. So the Damned come out and they play the Strawberries tour set live. They open with Ignite and they go through. And those songs, It's a very studio record. Tons of overdubs. Captain Sensible threw bells and whistles at that record because he could. And it's a very studio happy record. Live, it sounded a little thin. But what made the evening interesting was Minor Threat went out and did one of the best shows I've ever seen. And I've seen Minor Threat, luckily, many times, including their first ever show. And I never saw them anything less than a 10. They were just a good band. That night, in a sold-out Ontario theater, I actually saw Rat Scabies, the drummer of The Damned, in the lobby. And he had just walked out after watching. And I said, "Hey, Rat, what are you going to do about that?" And he went like, "Shut up." And he knew that The Damned had their work cut out for them. And The Damned, they're not shabby. They're a great live band. The Minor Threat held their own with The Damned quite well. If you ask many who are at the show, they might tell you that The Damned got their lunch taken from them by the locals. And so I always tell that story yet again, and I show the poster for the Damned Minor Threat show, which I have. And so I play Strawberries, and I played it a couple of nights ago, once a year, and I still like it but do not love it. It's the cool off after the Black album, same lineup. Mm-hmm. And it's a great record. I was singing Under the Floor again to myself as I took out the trash last night. And I might stick that track in an upcoming radio show. I just I never loved that record as much as the previous records of theirs.
Yeah.
Still, it's a totally worth it record to have.
You could say in a way, Damned closed for Minor Threat.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
One of the things that was interesting in the new State Fanatic book, you bring up leaving notes for future listeners. Hey there, all you record nerds. I want to tell you about BagsUnlimited.com. BagsUnlimited.com has a huge selection of vinyl record supplies. Whether you collect LPs, 7-inch singles, 78 shellacs, or anything in between, BagsUnlimited.com will sort you out. From polyline sleeves to cardboard record mailers to 7-inch storage boxes and archive quality record sleeves, protect your records of any size and shape at BagsUnlimited.com. Whether you have a small personal record collection or you're running a massive record shop, you can grab a small supply or even buy in bulk at BagsUnlimited.com. And they've got some really incredible, unique stuff. BagsUnlimited.com even has special size sleeves made especially to protect your box sets, storage boxes and sleeves for cassette tapes, protective supplies for reel-to-reel, and yes, even 8-tracks. Just go to BagsUnlimited.com, click on Audio Supplies, and prepare to be impressed by all the options they have. That's BagsUnlimited.com. Hey there, audiophiles. If you're seeking stylish furniture to showcase your stereo and record collection, well, look no further than SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Sidetracked Workshop designs extraordinarily elegant record cabinets and consoles that add sophistication and panache to your music hobby. Handcrafted in the good old USA in the vinyl-loving city of Portland, Oregon, Sidetracked Workshop's designs are a music lover's dream. Made with real walnut veneered wood and brass accents, these gorgeous designs add class and taste to the record room and ship fully assembled and ready to enjoy. Just check out the designs for yourself at SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Look, you spend thousands of dollars on records. Don't keep them in a crate, and don't risk your records on those feeble wooden pegs from IKEA. Your music deserves the dignity of Sidetracked Workshop. That's SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Elegant solutions for the vinyl lifestyle. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to GrooveWasher.com and use discount code VinylGuide10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's GrooveWasher.com, discount code VinylGuide10. One of the things that was interesting in the new Stay Fanatic book, you bring up leaving notes for future listeners.
Yes.
You talk about, I think, the biography of Lindbergh from A. Scott Berg.
Yes.
I read that book. Fantastic book. What I didn't realize, something you pointed out, was that in Charles Lindbergh's notes, he left information annotations for future biographers.
Yeah, and he was probably a guy who enjoyed his own company and thought he was a big deal. And he was ready for Berg, who's an amazing biographer. I mean, wow, read them all. And so I say, and I think I say emphatically, at least once in the new Stay Fanatic, leave a trail. Leave evidence. And that is why you want to have, like maybe a paper poly liner combination for your records, because you can write information on the paper on the outside without harming the vinyl. Like, when did you get the record? When's the first time you played it? Date it, put the location, and sign it. And if you ever play it again, there's a note you want to make a note of. How'd you get it? This was in a sale. The poor fellow passed away, and I bought it. His name was Alan, and he comes from Pittsburgh, and I knew him from a show. Because at some point, you never know, someone is going to be opening up that record who's not you, and you've left a trail of provenance. And so be generous. You're listening to the record anyway. When you're listening to records, have pens around. Write it down. Just jot it down as you're listening to one of the songs. Leave a trail.
So do you write things down and stick it inside the record sleeve? And
I just write it on the polyvinyl sleeve, because it's paper on the outside that holds the actual LP or 7-inch, and I sign it. And and I have gone back to these records where I've done that 18 years ago with no memory. So I try and listen to a different pressing of Machine Gun Etiquette. And I pull it. I'm like, oh, that's right. I got that at Aaron's Records, long gone record, beloved record store in L.A. And I wrote down June 13th, 1998 or whatever it was. So I found a good used copy. Or I got this from this guy, my pal John in London, or whatever. And I had forgotten in the meantime. Things fall out. And so I say leave a trail. Provenance is a big deal. And you never know. Someone might value the fact that it was in your hands at one point. Mm-hmm. But at least you're giving clarity so the record has context.
So when you get a collection, for example, yesterday I just bought a Miles Davis record, old Blue Note Lexington. It had the guy's address stamped on it. He had, he's from Allentown, Pennsylvania or something like that. I kind of like those. To me, it's like a cave painting, right?
Yes.
It shows a little bit of the history context. A lot of collectors just get aggravated when someone writes their name. But you seem to lean into it.
But you're not writing it like the Europeans. Why? Why do they write their name on the front of the Hawkwind 7-inch from Italy, destroying the artwork? Luciano, stop it! And I have so many rare records where Emilio, why did you do that, man? Because he took the record to a party. He wants to go home with it. And so I'm writing on the part of the record. It's just the insert sleeve that I bought from Bags Unlimited, and I'm scrawling on that. I'm not writing on the media. Hey, you want me to sign your record? No! On the artwork? Stop it. I've passed on records because they are signed. Because, Johnny Ramone signed right over his face. Thanks. I want the picture, man. And so I'm writing on the part that was an edition. I would never write on a record. I would never stamp on the back cover or on artwork or on the label. Oh, no. I write on the part that's just generic paper. Oh, I would never harm the actual source document.
Right.
Ever.
Oh,
ever,
okay.
ever.
Yeah.
And I bum when people do. And I have... a lot of David Bowie RCA 7-inches from all over the world where, thanks, Stefan. It's good to know who, I'd rather you put that on the white sleeve instead. But, it is what it is. It's 1975. The guy went for a good move and, he's doing the right thing.
And there's probably not a whole lot to pick from because, Paraguay probably only produced a couple hundred Stooges records.
And that's the thing. Sometimes you buy the one with the signature on it because it's from Chile and you're never going to see it again. Mm-hmm. And you just like, you suck it up and buy it. And so I have all kinds of color codes in my analog 45, 10-inch, and 12-inch lists. And one is says SGO at the end of a notation. Search goes on. It says writing on the label, SGO. Search goes on. Keep looking for a better version. Right. So I've got one. I have a piton on the rock face, but I'm looking for a better one. And so SGO, the search goes on.
So when you're out, looking for records, you find a copy of, album X. Do you have a database that you could access, or do you keep it all in your head? Like, oh, I've got a filler copy of that. This is a better copy. I'll take that home with me.
Most of the time, believe it or not, and I have too many records. Well, not enough records actually, but I have a photographic memory to where I can remember what I've got. Mm-hmm. And the condition.
Wow.
But the collection is getting to the point to where these things are starting to escape me. Also, I'm getting older, and so some stuff is falling
I'm sure that
out
has nothing to do with it, but yeah.
Well, it's stuff is starting to fall out of the bucket for sure. But I often bring my laptop with me. Like when we have a day off somewhere, road manager Ward and I will do the record store crawl because he has it all on his phone. And we're going to do like the walking tour of Hamburg. We're going to hit our usual 8 stores. I bring the clunky old laptop with me so I can just whip it open and scroll down and go like, oh, okay. I don't have the Italian pressing of the first Suicide album. It's on my want list, so acquired. And so, because it's right there staring at me. Sometimes if I don't have that, I'm like, well, it's in good condition. And if I end up with 2 copies, oh, how bad is that really? So I buy it. And like 6 weeks later, I get back to my collection. Like, well, now I've got 2. Oh, now I've got 3. Oh, well, because I keep forgetting I already have that. Mm-hmm. And so that's why write down every record when it comes in. Road manager Ward, he finds records every day when we're on tour. I come back from the gym, and he has that software where he gets an image from the internet, puts it into some database thing he has where he has the image, the pressing, the year, and he can find it on his phone, on his watch. Like he's like really sharp. Right. And I just have a kind of like I write them all down in a Word file. So I'm like, the Wright brothers trying to get off the ground where he's like space age. But it's the way my mind works, and it works. And so I've found the importance of not only writing down the record as soon as it comes in to not replicate, but to also file it very carefully. Because I've misfiled a couple of records. They're in there somewhere, and I've actually bought another copy because I just need to have it where it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. The other one is probably because I put it where I put the other band's record and I stuck it in next due to ignorance, exhaustion, or, being old.
So if you've got a VG copy of something at home, you go out, you find a really nice, near mint one or whatever like that. You bring that home, you keep both. You don't take the VG one and pass it on to someone or do something with it.
At most, I would give it away. I would never seek to sell it. So you never know. That second one might end up sounding pretty good. Mm-hmm. An old buddy of mine, a guy runs a great label called Overground Records, John Esplin. He's up in way up in northern England. He said, whenever possible, get 2. He said that to me, I don't know, like 20 years ago. I'm like, right. And every once in a while, I'll see, someone doesn't know what they have at the store. Really good copy of a record I already have. It's in really good condition. That would rival the one I have. Like $18. Oh, man, that's coming with me.
Right.
Just so it back up. You never know. The locusts might darken the skies. And you never know. You might not ever get out again. You might have to eat the damn thing. But at most, I would give the record away. I wouldn't think of, I can sell this. I actually would know how to do that. I don't sell on Discogs or eBay.
Right.
I just buy.
Okay. Now, when you have so many records like this, you've got a pile that is in your to be played pile.
Yeah.
Is that something you also like? You get supplies, you said bags unlimited. You get supplies and you just kind of have a process of cleaning and sleeving and that sort of thing with those records that come in?
Yeah, if I'm on my A game when they come in, because shrink wrap can often warp a record or damage a sleeve. So I get it out of the shrink wrap, out of the scruffy paper sleeve it sometimes comes in, into a smooth, acid-free environment. And that is not injurious to this record that you paid a lot of money in postage and whatever for. And presumably, you like the record, you want to be able to play it and have it sound good years from now. And so I'll do that at my desk when the record comes in. But quite often I just take it down the stairs to the listening room. And when it's queued up for listening, I put the record on. And as the record is going through track 1, I'm sleeving it up and putting down the paper sleeve after I've notated it. So when the record finishes, it can go right in and get carefully shelved. And as I'm listening to it, I'm writing down in my list proper title, pressing, and any other information.
Okay. So that's your routine with pretty much everything that enters the compound.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the paper, the rarer it is, the quicker I want to get it scanned and get it into the box where its relations also live, so I know where it is. I don't want a rare piece of paper sitting underneath another piece of paper. Not that coffee gets spilled, but I don't want to have that happen to a piece of paper there's one of.
Okay.
And I have some paper there's one of. And I got to get that scanned immediately and into an acid-free environment ASAP. And as I learned from my visits to the Library of Congress, the National Archives, you look at the principle to preserve it, like scan it, and then you put it away, and you want to look at the document again, open up your computer and look at the digital version. Thank you very much. And I have pieces of paper that in my little world are that rare. And so, hand signature, from the head of Arista, it's a big deal. And so those are immediately upon carefully unpacking, scanned within minutes.
Is there a white whale that you're chasing? A variant exists, but you just can never seem to capture one?
Yeah, but I'm loath to, and this is where I turn into a 78 collector. I'm loath to show you that hand. I would tell you later on, but I can't reveal because I need to be the Red Baron coming out of the sun to win the day. Because if you kind of sort of say what you're after, if someone has one, they'll sell it to you at a price. And so there's like bands I'm into where some sellers know that, I'm that guy. And I've been offered some things, which, I bought. And it's always the legendary mythical German guy. Well, Henry, it's you and one of my other customers from Germany. And the German guy, Henry, he's really into it. But, I'm a fan of yours. I've met you. I don't really know this guy. Does this mythical German guy exist? Don't know. Don't care. I need the thing. And more than once I have bought the item from the same seller with the mythical German hanging breathlessly on the other line. One time was in my office. I bought it. One time was on a moving tour bus. And I said, lock it in. Let me get to a more stable line and we'll get the accountant out of bed and we'll get the whole thing going. And both times the German was dangled in front of me. Does the German exist? The guy's trying to get somewhere. He's got something I want. So I'm loath to disclose my innermost want list because there's people out there who are pretty ruthless. And, they know that if you're obsessed, you will logic a way to find the money, as we talked about before. And I just don't want to offer myself up. But yes, on the safe side of things, I would love an Indian pressing of the UA 7-inch of Hawkwind's Silver Machine. And I had the chance to buy one at $1,000 10 years ago, and I should have, because one guy has two on Discogs for $5,000 each. He'll never get it.
Right.
Like never. He won't even get it for $1,500. But I really want that record. Can I live without it? Yeah, I'll find a way. But there's other stuff that I know that's out there, and I've written the people who own said things and go, hey man, can we talk about that? To have the guy write back like, make urine go vertically up a rope. No. And will I ever be able to wear that guy down, or will he have a change in his life where like, baby, divorce, I don't care anymore. I better reach out to Henry and overcharge him for this. I wait with breathless anticipation for that day, because these people, they know what they have, and they know that you will go there to that price, and it's going to wound you. But if I get that document, it will not sit in the darkness in an archival box. It will also have a life in one of the Stay Fanatic books and any other place I can display it. Because I want people to see this stuff. And that's why, there's a lot of rare paper in those books, because I have a way to put that out there now. Previous to this series, I was sitting on a bunch of rare stuff, and, no one would see it because I don't really hang out with people. I live alone. I work alone. People come in to check and make sure I have soup. But past that, I'm just the crazy workaholic guy. And I am. I'm not anti-human. I live to serve people. I don't want to hang out with them. I just want to make them things like radio shows and books and live shows, and I can be in front of them and harangue them for hours at a time. To go to the rap party fills me with trepidation. So, and the Stay Fanatic book allows me, like the new one with all those images, all that stuff is pretty cool looking to me, and some of that stuff is bloody rare, and it's the first time you've ever seen it, I know for a fact.
And what I really enjoyed about the book is you could just kind of pick it up and just kind of read it for a little bit, put it down. You get a couple pages, covers a couple of days, deep into topics, things like the scary monsters, the variation between part 1, part 2, volume 1 and 2. Yeah. Those sort of details that you look at are the sort of details that I look at. And I know a lot of record collectors that are like, oh, what's the story behind that? You may not know, but it's nice to know the difference, and you're pointing it out and you begin the conversation.
Right.
Henry, again, thank you for spending time with us here. And these books are almost custom built for record collectors that kind of look into those sort of details, like the people that are listening here. And
thanks. Yeah, I know I'm not alone. I know we are legion, because music does fill your life. And, the personality poster of David Bowie you've had since you were 11, it's still really cool. Interesting looking guy. All those record variants, it might be a little too deep in the weeds for some, but maybe there's parts of your audience who are enthusiastic about a different aspect of records and record collecting, where we can all agree that, we live for this at least a certain part of our day, because it is cool. And if no one else understands, that's cool, because it fills us with so much boundless joy and euphoria and curiosity, which is hard to maintain after a certain age. A lot of my peers are like dad age, like, well, Henry, bands were better when we were young. I'm like, oh no. And I always say, you're like Frank Sinatra, who said that the Hendrix experience was a bunch of noise, which he did, sadly, because Frank's records are great too. And you're like, and they go, what? I go, never mind. It's like, we lost you. And so I like when you wrote me, I was enthusiastic about doing this with you, just because I thought maybe all of this would not land on deaf ears.
No, not at all. I've got a theory about record collecting. I'll share it with you. Let me know your thoughts. Humans, we've been built. Our ancestors were hunters.
Yes.
And still in our lizard brain, we need to hunt. We need to satisfy that. We need to scratch that itch. In the modern day, we're not really hunting. So when it comes to record collecting, to me, there's nothing more exciting than to go into a record store, be flipping through new arrivals, or see something I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Capture that and bring that home with me, like a lion bringing home an elk. Right? Here's my kill for the day.
Yeah, and I think that's due to the complexity of the human mind. But also, this is just my theory, it's a very male thing. And to be funny but deadly serious at the same time. Women, you will not find them on eBay after records with the same frequency as men. And I say this kind of laughing, kind of dead serious, because their days are busy saving humankind from the ignorance, cruelty, brutality, and misgovernance of men who start wars and strip mountains for ore and change the direction of rivers and make things horrible. Women have to stand in the way as their reproductive health rights are being eviscerated right before them. And they're called, hey, little lady, move to the side. And so they're busy keeping we men from ruining everything. And so that's why the female lion is the better hunter, because they don't have that mane in the way. Where the male is picturesque, but he's inefficient. The women get it done. And so this is a very male pursuit. I've known only a couple of female record collectors in my life, as opposed to the myriad men I've met who like doggedly pursue. And I keep in touch with a couple who listen to my radio show and check out the books with great interest. And we keep in touch, and I kind of marvel at them that they want all the color variants of the OC's vinyl. And I'm like, okay, like, wow, you're different, because that's such a guy thing. When you find women into that, it is different. And that's kind of like the record collector nerd's babe. Like, oh, she wants the Brazilian pressing of the whatever record by this band. Like, yeah, you found your gal. And because they're so rare.
Yeah, always fall in love with the record store girl, no matter what.
And there's been more than one behind the counter of record stores I'd go into either frequently or whenever I was in that city. And there she is. I'm like, oh my God, you're beautiful, and you work at a record store. And you never know. She might hate music or think record collectors are just like the lamest guys and she's dating the quarterback or whatever. But there's at least two. And I'd see them whenever I was at that store. And I'd be like, hi. And they're like, yeah. Get out with your Jane's Addiction bootlegs. Yeah. But I've been through it.
Well, again, Henry, thanks again for doing what you do. The new book is Stay Fanatic Volume 4. It ends in 2018. So I'm assuming Volume 5 is somewhere in the queue.
It's being worked on about up to an hour before I took a break to talk to you. The books take a year to write, up to 3 years to scan, fact check, proofread once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. They take forever. It's like building a league of ships in a very small bottle. So 1 year to write it, blah, and then years to like, that's not correct. That's, that record came out on this year, not that year, to do like your journalistic due diligence as best as I can, find 3 sources. And so that's why they take that long. And I think I did a blurb for this thing on my website. I said, folks, here's why it's 2024 and the book is from 2018. It takes that long. Like the new version of this book, I'm writing it. I was writing it last night. It'll end on New Year's Eve this year. When will it come out? If it comes out, I don't know. But each of these books takes hundreds of images, which I have to go out and get and pay for. And some of the pages in that book took hundreds of dollars to create the page. And I bought the image because I knew I needed to put that in at that point to tell the story. So I need to win that thing on eBay because A, I want it, B, I know exactly where I'm going to put it. And so the books take a lot of years. It's the most time-intensive writing projects I've ever done. And I had no idea what was waiting for me when I started. And now, for better or for worse, I can't stop. I'm obsessed with doing these books. So thank you for, taking the time to check out the book, because literally that book you have was hundreds of hours of it's 3 a.m. I've been scanning for 5 hours. Like, it is what it is. You got to get it done.
A lot of love went into this, a lot of care, a lot of detail. And again, just sitting down and reading it, again, as a record collector, I could totally relate to every single page, and I learn a lot doing it. So,
thank you.
Anyway, Henry, thanks again for joining. And anything else before we go?
No, just thank you. And a shameless plug, you can find the book at henryrollins.com.
I will make sure that link is in the episode page and everywhere else we could stick it.
Thank you.
All right, Henry. Thanks again, mate.
Thank you.
Oh, man. It was an absolute pleasure to reconnect with Henry. And again, the Stay Fanatic books are super fun to read. HenryRollins.com is where you go to secure one. And don't forget, many of his books sell out, so grab one while you can. HenryRollins.com. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, appreciate everyone who shares these episodes on social media, putting them in Reddit forums and Facebook groups. Those of you who are leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, well, you are gods in my opinion. So thank you so much for that. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.